Hello, good morning, everyone. It is such a pleasure to always sit here with you and talk with you about health and the unwinding road to the world of Wellville. You know, there's just so much there. And yesterday I did a quick video on this controversy on the Facebook and the young lady that just can't seem to relax and let this mind relax, you know, so it's just chattering. And so there's all endless questions and things, and it's like there's almost 800 videos here for any of you that want to go back and review and review and review, and some of you have done a lot of that, and I appreciate that, because once you understand it, you'll see what we've discovered after 40 years of intense detoxification on a lot of human bodies. So opinions are cool if you've done that. If you've seen 100, 200, 300,000 people and you've had the success we have, then we can talk, and it'll be worth the conversation. Outside of that, most of these conversations are, you know, opinions of people, and especially the lad that went off of a mainly, I mean, who knows what he was eating, but a mainly vegan diet into an extreme diet. Now, I've seen this a lot of times where people just go way over the deep end. The problem with all the raw milks and all the eggs and all the colostrums, I've had way too much experience with those things, and I can already tell you where he's going. It just, no one's free from those things. And I think this is a very important lesson. So these people do serve up very important lessons for everyone in terms of understanding raw foods and the journey from where Homo sapiens are right now and their health issues. How did they get there? Eating the diet that young man's going back and eating right now. That's how we got here. Eating those kind of foods brought Homo sapiens here. That's going back and putting the Homo sapien as a major omnivore. And it's just, there's no proof to that. There's no realistic common sense or scientific evidence. We're eating that way, but there's nothing in the body to show that we're designed that way. So that's part of the problem. The other thing, of course, and I want to get into foods today. To be honest with you, I'll try to cover a couple of your questions, but I think we need to cover some foods. We've never really done that per se, and really important. But I want you to think about a magician for a minute. There's a magician, and he's getting you to look over here, right? He's getting you to look over here while he's doing his thing, but over here is where the real workings are, where the truth is, where what's reality, how the setup is to the trick. And so we always look over here, and that's just what this was about. We always blame the raw foods for the problems. We always blame the fruit. We always blame the foods for doing it. That's the magician looking over here. So we're blaming the foods. What we don't understand is the human body. What we don't understand is toxicity, acidosis, the lymph system, and what type of diet does it really take to clean this system out. This is where the problems lie, not in playing the diet. Oh, this diet didn't work for me. I need to go over and get back to the paleo diet, or this, I need to eat all these gallons of raw milk and cream and butter and all this. That's the magician's trick, looking over here, blaming the diet. The reality is within the individual and this gigantic sewer system. It's very difficult, my friends, to move lymph. There's no question. You guys that have tearing this apart, which is the majority of you, which I'm so proud of. I'm proud to be in the company of such beautiful, high spiritual souls as most of you. Just incredible. You guys are really digging in and seeing the reality here. And that's important for you healers, because us healers need to walk together, and understanding these issues are important, and why this guy still had balding, why he lost his teeth, and they blamed it again over here on the diet. You know, it's a beautiful illusion, but it isn't truth. Truth is much more serious than that, and that is the body's lymphatic system and what acids are doing to you. And on a raw food diet, you're going to get new hair. You're going to get rebuilding of teeth. On the process, you could have some healing crisis that would take some off. There's no question, because remember this, the body always dumps its weaknesses. That's why if you have someone really weak and you have time, go slower, because the detox won't be as extreme. Remember, I told you about my first client who came to me that she lost all her fingernails going from a New York City diet to an ashram in the Bahamas that was eating nothing but fruit and fasting. So that radical change, her body just dumped her fingernail, dumped everything that's weak so it could rebuild it. Common sense. If you're going to rebuild something, you have to tear out that which is which you're trying to replace, whether it's rotten wood or whatever it is. You've got to remove that part of that metal, rusting metal. You've got to clean all of that out of there and get a clear margin, as we say, and then rebuild. And that's exactly what your body does on its very own. And you're giving it the power to do that. Never get caught up in the illusion and lose sight of reality. This is a big, big deal. So let's look at some things here a minute in terms of food sources. You know, again, this is detoxification. And somehow the fruit understanding and the fasting got lost in this barrage of Hippocrates and all these people, cousins, who are teaching against fruits and pumping up the vegetables. That would put us in the line of herbivores. And I think if you sit down realistically and look at herbivores, horses, cows, elephants, rhinoceroses, giraffes, we don't fit into that syndrome at all. We have nothing like those vertebrates. We don't have a gut near the length of that. We don't have the multiple stomachs. We don't have the grinding teeth for the cellulose. There's nothing in the Homo sapien that represents that. And when we go and we think grasses have more nutrition than berries, something's wrong with that, because berries actually have far more nutrition than grass. And yet, you'll get a herbivore chewing down on that grass. Nobody messes with wild stallions unless you have a rope or a gun or something like that. There are some of these animals that are so strong, you better hope they're loving. And of course, most herbivores are loving, of course, because they're not meat eaters. So really want to take a look at that. So let's look at some foods for a minute, okay? So we're talking about meat, you know, meat, healthy, right? Well, when you look at two things, we're going to look at two things when we look at foods. We're going to look at the energetics of a food, which is the electromagnetic energy that's getting produced from all the movement of atoms and the magnetism of this. And then, of course, which reflects its chemistry. And then also we want to look at the chemistry of things. And I'm not going to get high in chemistry of things. Half of it I even forgot by now. But let's look at a simplistic look at some of these foods. Meat. All you have to do is get a knife and cut off a piece of your meat somewhere. Cut a piece of your hindquarters. Cut a piece of yourself off. That's exactly what meat is. It's a bunch of cells and two fluids. And that holds true with every creature. Bunch of cells and two fluids. And that's what you call healthy. Well, the problem is that as soon as something dies, putrefaction in terms of meat and blood comes setting in. Putrefaction, you can smell that pretty quick. How fast does fish stink when you pull it out of the water? Pretty quick, huh? And we consider that nutritious. We don't, but some people do. What do we got? We got a bunch of amino acids that have become peptides and polypeptides forming proteins. Well, now it's funny how the body has to then re-break that all down to amino acids, doesn't it? Because tissue is formed from proteins or amino acids, right? And amino acids then forms the peptides and polypeptides and then the protein, the meat, the structure. But when we go to eat that structure, what are we eating? We're eating dead tissue. We're eating a structure that's breaking down and rotting. And we like that. The blood, of course, whoo! Ever smell blood? Putrefacted blood? Not good. You ever smell a human dying? Not good. Not good. But we like that. Matter of fact, ask most farmers, most people like aged beef. That's 6 months, not 2 or 3. That's 6 months hanging on the hoof. We just cut off the mold, of course, that which is trying to break it down, because God needs those atoms, of course. And yet we consider that good for you. High phosphorus, high iron, low cal magnesium, the opposite of what we want. If you go back and look at properly raised vegetables and fruits and berries, you will find properly picked ripe. All right, so we'll set that as the foundation. We already know we have crap foods in America. We already know people like Yaz in Thailand are sitting there gorging on some of the best food in the world. Spain having some of the best food. A lot of countries south of France having really good food. America, we've lost our caring for quality of food. I'm sure there's some farmers out there that are participating in that consciousness of quality. But they're a handful probably in the whole spectrum of things, and for some reason Florida seems to not get the good stuff. So here on protein, most people can't just go out and eat raw meat. There's nothing designed on a human that would give you an indication you're a meat eater. You don't have the desire to rip something apart, and matter of fact, unless it's on the Barbie, unless you put some spices or cook the crap out of it or whatever, it doesn't taste good. Now, some people like raw meat, no question, I've seen that. Nasty to me, because this is just putrefaction at its finest. And so we consider that healthy. Well, most fruits and vegetables are 70 to 80% base chemistry. That's your calcium, magnesium, your sodiums, your potassiums, your zincs. These are the alkaline chemistries. And only 20% acid chemistry. The ratio is dominant on the base chemistry side. The ratio of this air on this planet is dominant base, rapidly becoming acidic. And look what's happening. Lung cancer skyrocketing, deterioration of paints and buildings, mutation of fish and frogs just as the rain is pulling these acids into the lakes. When things get over acidic, deterioration and mutation takes place. It's not a brainstorm, it's easy to see that. So you're eating a food and meat predominantly acidic. Well, you don't hit your blood with a pH below 7.4, 7.3, or what's going to happen? The law of homeostasis, where now the body has to rectify that acidosis in a timely manner, or death is imminent. You can't run an acid blood without dying within a few minutes. Remember that. So when you eat a lot of high proteins, you're acidifying the blood. Well, see you later. Body has to find alkaline chemistry, base chemistry, and of course calcium is the predominant base chemistry of the human body. So it'll steal it out of your connective tissue, out of your bones, because you can't eat a high phosphorus diet and survive well. And yet medical doctors push that. That's the insanity of that particular modality. I mean, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right on down the line and see where the medical modality is living in a world far, far away and just are crazy. They're ridiculous. You sit and listen what some of you guys have been through and some of my clients have been through. Most of them. And it's just, it's sad. It makes you want to hang your head at the human species and the human intellect to see things that are so stupid, things that are so we allow to happen to other people. And what people do to other people, I think it's just atrocious. But we're a high meat eating society, which totally changes the molecular structure of things, totally changes the magnetic resonance of the body. This is why magnetic therapy is so beneficial for you.